Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady, and welcome back. Amy Daughters is with us, and she shared her personal story about writing. How many stories, Amy?
580 handwritten letters.
580 handwritten letters. And I want you to talk to our listeners who are mostly in the HR ops manager space about the power of handwritten letters in today's digital world. So let's go.
Right. And you know what? This story was so unintentional on my part. I didn't understand. I didn't go into it knowingly think, hey, look, I'm going to do something so super meaningful. That was not my intention at all. My intention was I'm a goal-oriented person. I made a goal, so I was going to go, hard at it and see what I could do. And I was really personally invested. But what I realized was when people started getting these letters, and yes, they were meaningful because when I wrote them, like, what do you say to someone you hadn't talked to in 25 years? Well, the natural thing is I went and looked at their Facebook profile and found connecting points. So if I was writing you, Wendy, and let's say we went to high school together, I'd be like, Wendy, look how successful you've been. So my first thing would be like, Wendy, oh my God, you're blowing it up, girl. Way to go. And so I'd be like, I'm proud of you. And then secondly, I would immediately, and I did this not on purpose, I'd be like, Wendy, oh yeah, Wendy, we stood by the payphone in junior high school when that guy broke up with me. And you were like, you know what, Amy Daughters, because you're kind of a coachy kind of person. I know that now that you're an adult. You'd be like, but you were the kid. You're like 13-year-old Wendy. And you're like, you're not letting him define the rest of your life. This is not a turning point. I mean, this is a turning point for good. And so I'd be like, Wendy, thank you. Because, you really contributed to my life. So those two intersections meant that these turned out to be meaningful letters. And that's something you can do in a handwritten letter. But then what I didn't realize was I was going to create this magic at the mailbox that I didn't mean to. Because if you go out to your mailbox, Wendy, and you get all your mail, you pull out a letter from this girl from junior high school, and you're going to hold that letter in your hand, and you're going to connect the dots immediately at the amount of effort that took on my part to give you that letter. You're going to be like, oh my God, she had to find a piece of paper. And oh my God, what about envelopes? And who has stamps anymore? Yeah. And then she had to write that thing down. I bet she needs Aspercream for her fingers, and then you're going to be like, she drove to a mailbox in her minivan and dropped that thing off somewhere. And so you're going to be like, oh my gosh, guess what, guys? I matter to another human being. And then it's going to be handwritten. So you're holding something in my hand that you held, and it goes on and on and on. And in the context of an organization, and I've worked with a lot of organizations, real estate people, organizations, you can do that with employees. You can do that with coworkers. You can do it with customers. And there's nothing wrong with harnessing it in the context of business, because all we're doing is we're in the world of human relationships, just like junior high school, but you can have such an impact on 2 cubicles over, 3 floors up, or across this, country with someone you work with. You can say something. You can say, way to go. You can encourage them, or you can just say something as simple as, You know what? I enjoy working with you. And I tell you what, your relationships will be more enhanced than you can ever imagine.
Absolutely correct. Employees who receive a handwritten note from their manager are more than twice as likely to feel appreciated and engaged compared to those who do not receive any personal recognition. That's according to the Harvard Business Review. Back to you.
It really is. It's pretty impactful when your manager, as Amy just said, took the time. Okay, they're not mailing you something, well, unless you're in a different location, but they literally just took the time to jot down some appreciation. And if you're the more specific you are, like you were saying, Amy, of connecting the dots. Remember when we used to stand here and we used to say this and we used to do this, being very, very specific, it gets people to do what you want them to do. And it gets them to stay with the organization.
Oh, yeah, from a retention standpoint, from a motivation standpoint. And it doesn't, I think the problem of my story is it's overwhelming. Like, oh my God, you're crazy. You wrote 600 letters. And I get that. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be 600. They don't have to be 2 pages. You can get it done in 4 sentences. It's your personality. Like maybe you need to write three 3 pages. Great. There's the number one rule in letter or note writing is there are no rules. It could be a sticky note and you can get it done.
Right.
Like you said, being specific, being personal, and, taking the time to being meaningful. It's just so intentional that you're going to get that across no matter what format you do it in or the length that you use. And I think the handwritten part just shows your vulnerability. Like, it's okay if it doesn't look great. That's even better in our digital world, really.
The meaningful and impactful. And when we think about that and being insightful, too, I mean, in today's digital age, I can't tell you the last time I wrote something. Maybe it was when I had to sign for medications not long ago. That was maybe the first time. But I'll tell you what, I try to write a sentence. It looks like I'm the doctor. I haven't written something in so long. So we should probably try to make it legible, at least, if we're going to send that out the door, right?
Right.
Okay.
And that's a great point. They got to be able to read it.
Yeah, it really is. Good luck reading my handwritten notes. Sometimes I write notes all the time to myself, and then I'm looking at it the next day going, I really wish I knew what that said.
Wendy wrote me a note the last time I was down in Florida. It literally, Amy, it said, like, I really appreciate you. You do a lot. Thank you. So, and it had all these flowery words. I read it. I thought she was asking me to go to the store and buy Aspercream. I didn't know what she was trying to say. I mean, the power of positive intention, but wow, I couldn't read her writing.
Yeah, it's awful. And I think we're just going to keep getting deeper in that because kids these days, but us, we're not kids, that's for sure. We cannot write handwritten notes because we're so used to typing and texting or talk to text or something like that. But I want to, before we wrap up on episode 2 here, I did wanted to share another statistic with everybody, and it's about sense of belonging. And if you're talking to your employees on a regular basis, and then if you're writing things down, at this point, I don't even care if it's digital writing things down, but just at least letting people know that they belong there and that they're connected and that you see them. Handwritten would be better, but there's a statistic from, this was pre-pandemic, Harvard Business Review 2019. It was in an article, How to Promote Workplace Well-Being, and employees who have a strong sense of belonging at work are 50% likely to leave the company on their own. So heck, go ahead and write some notes, and then there's your retention strategy right there. A little bit more than that. You can listen to other episodes for that, add that information. So everybody, thanks for listening so far to episode 2 of our 5-part series on how to reconnect in a disconnected world through the forgotten practice of handwritten letters. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.